Historically, the role of the sapper included such tasks as undermining an entrenched position, or creating obstacles in the path of an enemy's advance, or clearing such obstacles for our own attacking forces. These were all engineer tasks which had to be carried out slowly and methodically, usually in static battle situations. The advent of the tank during the course of the First World War threatened to change the standard battle scenario, but the changes proved short-lived. The sappers on one side soon found obstacles which either slowed the tank or immobilized it completely. The sappers on the other side found ways of overcoming those obstacles. So in the end, little had changed. The wheels of war still ground exceeding slowly, or came to a complete stop. But it was here that the need was first recognized for specialist armor crewed by engineers. During the Second World War, the advances in mechanized warfare brought about by the dramatic improvement in firepower, mobility and protection only re-emphasized the need for a specialist force of armored engineers. The problems were still much the same. But the solutions had to be faster. For the pace of war had increased, and the sappers had to become as fast and as flexible as the armor they were to support. The same philosophy prevails today. The armored engineers are an integral part of the covering force, facilitating its disengagement and tactical withdrawal into the main defensive position. Tasks like this call for a whole range of armored vehicles which have been adapted to specific functions. To handle these vehicles calls for sappers who've been specially trained to the Royal Armoured Corps' own exacting standards. But although he crews an armoured vehicle and is dedicated to the problems of armour, the armoured engineer is first and foremost a sapper trained to clear obstacles from the path of our own forces and to place them in the path of the enemy. In withdrawal, his tasks include route denial. His tools include a wide range of explosives.
One on the track. The other in the spill.
Like any other sapper, the armoured engineer has a variety of devices at his fingertips, from the rapid cratering kit to a formidable array of mines, both anti-personnel and anti-tank. Frequently, these mines will be used in combination, and invariably, if time permits, with other more visible types of obstacle. The object is to deny certain designated routes to the enemy and to channel his advance into areas of our own choosing. The protection and mobility afforded by the armoured vehicle allows the engineers to stay longer on the forward edge of the battle area, where historically they've always sustained their heaviest casualties. This protection and mobility, together with its 165mm demolition gun, makes the Avri an ideal emergency firing means and a reserve demolition.
Firing now. "80% success, sir. I'll get the Avri to finish it. Hello, Bravo 43 Alpha. This is Bravo 41 Bravo. Engage target now."
In attack, the role of the armoured engineers is more complex. Ideally, each battle group is supported by a troop of Avris and AVLBs. The Armoured Vehicle Royal Engineers, or Avri, is a Centurion variant, equipped to carry out sapper tasks. Similarly, the Armoured Vehicle Launcher Bridge, or AVLB, is a chieftain tank adapted to carry and launch bridges. But the troop will, if necessary, be reinforced by combat engineer tractors from its parent Armoured Engineer Squadron together with any other equipment the squadron commander considers necessary for the immediate task.
Delta 1-1, you are to support address group Kilo Hotel Juliet. Likely tasks: 4 Sierra, Kilo Alpha, Mike November...
The squadron commander will arrange for the resupply of bridges, calling them forward on transporters to be met by the troop, or to be dumped at pre-selected points and picked up by the troop, as and when necessary. Similarly with the Class 60 trackway, with the fascines and with the other equipment. These are usually loaded onto trailers, which are normally towed behind the Avries, but which can, on occasion, be dropped at convenient forward pickup points.
Delta 1-1, replenishment in your new harbour area at 13:30 hours. Recce may begin now, but not forward of line Kilo.
As in any military operation, reconnaissance is critical. When a counterattack is planned across our own minefield, the minefield gaps may be unsuitable, so the armoured engineer troop commander must investigate all the various options for the breach. Crossing a river also needs accurate intelligence. The strength of the current, the width of the gap, the state of the ground, all can affect the choice of suitable sites. The depth of the water too, and the profile of the riverbed become important if a combination bridge is to be used. The troop commander must have a thorough appreciation of the problems before he can offer solutions.
Mission: to establish a bridgehead over the River Ilmer.
And the battle group commander must know what his options are before he can prepare his plan.
Execution, general outline, 5 phases. Phase 1, establish a fire base and set up the traffic control organization. Phase 2, breach the minefield in 2 places. Phase 3, establish a fire base overlooking the River Ilmer. Phase 4, lay 2 bridges over the river. Phase 5, establish a bridgehead across the River Ilmer.
For the armoured engineers, Phase 1 is a waiting phase. Their specialist armour is unlikely to be put at risk as part of the defensive plan. They will remain in a harbour area and make their final preparations for the counterattack. But before that can happen, the enemy's advance must first be contained. This is the moment we've been waiting for.
This is 0 Alpha. Demonstrate. Alpha.
When the battle group move forward, the armoured engineers go with them.
Hello, Charlie 6. This is Bravo 42 Alpha. Move now. Alpha.
The successful prosecution of Phase 2 of the operation now depends on the armoured engineers. Their task is to breach the minefield in 2 places, using Giant Viper and Plough. Giant Viper consists of 1.5 tons of explosive, packed into a hose and projected across a minefield by a cluster of 8 rockets. On landing, the hose will explode, making a breach 200 meters long and 8 meters wide. But the explosion is likely to attract some response from the enemy. Under pressure, the commander may decide to push his gun tanks through the Giant Viper lane without further preparation. But if the situation permits, he may follow up with an Avry plough, which will clear the remaining mines. Giant Vipers are normally used in tandem. more than one tandem firing will almost certainly be necessary to clear a single lane through our own or an enemy minefield. Though apparently slow, this is still the fastest, effective method of breaching a minefield. But a second breach, perhaps using an Avery plough alone, and often a third breach will be necessary before the battle group is committed across it. Then they will pour across, in strength, and at speed, and almost certainly under fire. Once across the minefield, the battle group will go on to complete Phase 3 of the operation, the establishment of a fire base overlooking the River Ilmer. Phase 4, to bridge the River Ilmer in 2 places, another specialized task that devolves on the armored engineers. The first site calls for a number 9 tank bridge. This is a single-section bridge capable of spanning a gap of approximately 12 meters. The second selected site calls for a number 8 tank bridge. This is a scissors bridge which will span gaps of around 23 meters. Like the number 9, it takes about 3 minutes to launch. With both bridges, it's the AVLB which is first over, proving the crossing for the armor which is to follow. Next is an Avery, mounted with Class 60 trackway. This is laid to protect the approaches and exits to the bridges. It provides a firm path over soft ground and prevents scour by the tanks, particularly on the enemy back. A further threat may come from the continuous passage of heavy armor across the bridge. In time, this may weaken the banks and cause them to crumble and collapse. That's one reason why the sappers hold bridging in reserve. Another, more important reason is that bridges make inviting targets.
Hello, all stations, this is Whiskey 30. The Golden Eagle destroyed. 0 and 0 Alpha, acknowledge, over.
0, roger, out.
The operation grinds to a halt.
Hello, Bravo 42 Alpha. This is 0 Alpha. Renaissance, over.
While the rest of the battle group improvise the best fire positions they can,
Renaissance, out.
the armored engineer troop must prepare an emergency crossing.
Alpha, move now, out.
But the nearest suitable site is where the river is too wide to be spanned by a single bridge of either type. So 2 bridges will have to be used in combination. And at this site, a combat engineer tractor is needed to doze in the home bank and prepare a sound foundation for the crossing. The type and number of bridges used and the order in which they are laid depends on the bank and river profiles, the width of the gap and the depth of the water. In this case, a number 9 is used first because the water is quite deep on the far side and comparatively shallow on this. Now the second AVLB can use the first bridge as a ramp from which to launch the second. In this case, a number 8. It may not be the most elegant of bridges, but it serves its purpose. And that, in the circumstances, is all that matters.
Hello, all stations, this is 0 Alpha. Move now, out.
With the battle group now crossing the river in force and consolidating a bridgehead on the far bank, the 5th and final phase of the operation calls for the armored engineers to exercise their digging skills, preparing hasty fire positions in readiness for the next operation. The armored engineers today enjoy the same sort of protection, the same sort of mobility, the same sort of communications as the armor they support. Only their firepower is different. With the armoured engineers, it's not the rate of fire which is important, but the speed with which they can execute the engineer tasks which are essential to an armoured operation. They bring intimate, timely, and relevant engineer support to the battle. They have become, in fact, an integral part of the armoured formation. Their normal sapper skills, allied to their additional armoured training and their specialist equipment, means that wherever the armour goes, the armoured engineers go with them. Everywhere.